All right, guys, welcome back to Fantasy Gurus. Week 5 is now in the books, and we're going to talk about priority waiver wire ads. And we have league winners. This is a list that is full of talent and potential. So what I'm going to do here is essentially break down, the ones that are going to be less than 50% owned, and then I'll talk about some that are, may or may not be available, and then some stashes as well. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. Top waiver wire ad, without a question, hands down, potential league winner. Go out and spend, 30 to 40% of your fab if you're in that on this guy, because he can be a difference maker, and that's going to be Kenneth Walker. He's available in 55% of the league, so hopefully, he's available there. Coming off of a 14.8 fantasy point performance, 69-yard touchdown run. Reached 20.93 miles per hour on that. Just displaying his incredible athletic talent. We knew it coming out of college. He was one of the heaviest, talked about running backs in the league, if not, the highest. But Penny's down, and just hate to say it like that. It sucks. He was on a contract year. A prove it year, and Penny went down. He's done for the season. So now the keys are given to Kenneth Walker, and look for him to just shine. He's definitely the number one priority of the week. So go and spend what you have to get him. He could be a league winner. Next, and staying on the same team, staying on the Seahawks, is Geno Smith. Yeah, he's available in 65% of the leagues. If you need a streaming quarterback for the buys, or you've been in and out of the lineups with inconsistency, Geno Smith has displayed consistency. Coming off of a 24-point fantasy week, he was quarterback 4 on the week. He was throwing bombs too. He threw a 50-yarder, he threw a 40-yard touchdown, and a 35-yard touchdown to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Back-to-back top 5 finishes in the last 2 weeks. He's looking good. Total, over 1,300 passing yards, and he's QB6 on the season overall. So I anticipate him staying within that top 10 range. He looks great, like I said, averaging 19.9, so pretty much 20 fantasy points per game. Has the highest quarterback rating in the league. But shout out Geno, right? He's looking amazing. He has 2 great receivers with Lockett and Metcalf, and with the loss of Penny, I anticipate him, potentially having to use his legs a little bit more, or even them going with a little bit more pass heavy, just because they don't have, the RB1, RB2 combo there. But Geno Smith's going to be my number 2. Moving on, number 3 here is Isaiah McKenzie for the Bills. Now, he's somebody who's just been kind of forgotten about. He's available in 52% of the leagues. He was out last week. I think he had a concussion, wasn't able to make it back. Starting to frustrate fantasy owners a little bit, but he's got 41.4 fantasy points on the season, averaging a little bit over 10 fantasy points per game. He's got 3 touchdowns out of those 4 games he's played. But now is going to be really your last chance to scoop him. Jamison Crowder went down with an injury, so he's going to have full reins in that slot position. He's on the Bills, and if he can continue to find the end zone, I think he'll have wide receiver 2 upside going forward. If you look at the tape, you see him with the ball in his hands. He's absolutely dynamic. He's on that Bills offense, something I want a part of. Crowder going down, it kind of checks all the boxes for me. But they're the number 1 offense of the league, number 1 passing game, and he's definitely somebody who I am looking to pick up if he's available in your league. Again, a 52% availability. Go out and check and see if he's there. He's been kind of under the radar the past couple of weeks. Last one is going to be Jacoby Myers, and he's available in 52% of your leagues. Week 5, he coming off of 20.6 fantasy points, wide receiver 6 on the week, got into the end zone. Missed 2 games with a knee injury. So on the season, he's averaging over 14 fantasy points per game when he's playing, which is inside the top 10 for receivers. He's the clear-cut number 1. Nobody's challenging him in that role. Has a monster target share, coming off a great game with the backup quarterback. And so that just tells me it doesn't really matter who's throwing the ball. He's going to play a pivotal role in this offense. I believe in Belichick to get him the ball. And he's always been a great player, but he's just never been really that big of a fantasy asset. because he doesn't have the touchdown upside. This is his fourth season, and it was just his third touchdown. But, him getting into the end zone is a really, really good sign for me, somebody I'm looking to target. And if he can start scoring touchdowns, then he has wide receiver 2, maybe even wide receiver 1 upside for the rest of the season, being that pretty much the primary receiver on that team. So 2 players I'm going to talk about next. They are must-add players, in my opinion. They just weren't under that 50%, availability, so I skipped over them. But if Pickens is in your league, pick him up. He's available in 45% right now. But he's posted since Pickens has been the quarterback. Pickett has posted 13.2 fantasy points and 11.3 fantasy points, averaging 6 receptions, 8 targets, and 92.5 yards per game since that takeover. Pickett's just much more aggressive than Trubisky was. The running game is honestly non-existent. That O-line is horrible. They're going to fall behind early and often. There's plenty of opportunities for him, even with Claypool and Deontay Johnson there. Frymuth went out with a concussion. I feel like that's like his 8th of his career. But pick up Pickens. He is an incredible talent. And he really is somebody who I think is going to stay heavily involved in that offense as long as Pickett is under center. The next one is Gallup, Michael Gallup, for the Cowboys. So he's available in 49% of your leagues. He's played 2 games this season, averaging 7.9 fantasy points. So it's pretty mediocre. Lamb's drawing most of the attention, so I think Gallup should see more volume. Schultz has been in and out of the lineup, but he's more of a stash, in my opinion, at least until Prescott gets back. They're playing very conservative football with Rush under center, and he's just being very conservative, which they should, and they're winning. They probably will look to do that even when Prescott comes back instead of that run and gun. But just because their defense is so strong. But obviously, Prescott is still way better talent than Rush is. But he was somebody who was really on my radar in the beginning of the season. He was getting drafted a lot later because he had that injury and was going to miss the first couple of games. But this is a good opportunity for Gallup once Prescott comes back, because he's the number 2 receiver now. Last year was Amari Cooper. He's gone. So expect Gallup to step up, and I think that he's going to really see like a pivotal role once Prescott comes back and, for the rest of the season, especially with Lamb drawing, that heavy amount of D-backs, guarding him should open up the play for Gallup. The next ones we're going to talk about are going to be stash opportunities. Now, these are not somebody I'm going to go and start next week. They either need an injury or they need to prove themselves a little bit more in the offense to get more opportunities. But first up is going to be Eno Benjamin. We're still waiting to see what's going on with James Conner. He did go out last week with a rib injury, and then that was in the second quarter, and then Darrell Williams left in the third quarter. So he was the only lone running back. In that opportunity, he saw 12.8 fantasy points and a touchdown. So when he's given the touches, he is very efficient. I think he can be a complete 3-down back. He looked good. But somebody to stash if James Conner were to miss some time or go out with injury, and I'm not sure on the status with Darrell Williams, but definitely somebody who you can look to pick up. He's available in primarily of the leagues. So if you have the room, stash him. Could be a good asset going forward. Next one is going to be Rashad White for the Bucs. He's available in 66% of the leagues, back-to-back games with 8 total touches. He's starting to carve out a role in this offense. He looks good when he gets the ball. Now, I'm not saying he's going to, compete with Fournette. Fournette has had back-to-back monster games. He's not going anywhere. It's not going to change unless Fournette were to miss some time. But if Fournette does miss anything, look for White to become like an instant RB2. And I still think he's going to maintain that 8-touch role throughout the season. But this is a Bucs offense, there's somebody worth stashing and somebody who I'd like to have in the event that, Fournette were to miss some time for whatever reason. But he's definitely a good stash. Keep him on your bench. Next is Mike Boone. This is a mess of a backfield right now, but he's available in 64% of the leagues. Coming off of a 10 fantasy point performance. He looked good. He had like 70 yards on 10 touches, which is pretty good. He was out-touched by Gordon, though, 18-10, continued to operate as the clear number 2 back. Gordon, he looks good, but he has a fumbling issue. Boone did look good when he was given the opportunities. Also, someone to throw in there, obviously Javonte Williams is gone for the season. So look for Boone to get more opportunities in this offense, especially if he continues to have games like he did last week. But overall, it's just an uncertain backfield. Like I talked about, Latavius Murray was added. He didn't get upgraded to being active just because he didn't have time to learn the offense. But, with Murray being in there, now that throws another back in there to complicate things even more on an offense that has looked pretty terrible thus far. Next one is going to be Josh Kelly. He's available in 99% of your leagues, and I don't know why this happens, but he's coming off a great game. 15.2 fantasy points. He had 12 total touches and around 70 yards, and he's gotten to the end zone. He's the clear backup behind Eckler, and I would only ever look to start him if Eckler were to miss time. But the reason why he's on my radar is he's now the clear-cut number 2 back. Sony Michel has lost that role. As opposed to the first couple games of the season, but he also appears to be handling the goal line and red zone touches as well. I don't know why Eckler has such a knack for the end zone, but they continue to give him the ball. So look for him to, potentially have weekly touchdown upside, even if Eckler is involved. And again, if Eckler were to miss any time, he is immediate must start going into that running back 1 position because he has overtaken Michel. But other than that, moving on to the next guy, Rondale Moore. He's available in 88% of your leagues. He's a stash for me because, he displays supreme talent. Is one of the most dangerous ball carriers when he has it in his hand. Coming off of 9.6 fantasy points, he had 7 receptions, 8 targets, so good target share there, 68 yards. And that was when AJ Green was back compared to the prior week. He only had 2.2 fantasy points, and AJ Green wasn't involved there. But that's a positive for him. I think he's still going to play in that slot receiver, maybe handle a little bit of some running touches. But he posted respectable numbers and had a good target share. The reason why he's just a stash for me is because we have Hopkins coming back, not this week, but week 7. So from there's just a lot of uncertainty. I think he's going to be the clear-cut number 4 on that offense behind, Hollywood, Hopkins. You got Zach Ertz in there as well. So just a lot of uncertainty, but he has a supreme talent, and, he can look to carve out a potential role as the season goes on, going into his second year. But other than that, that is everything there. Please take my advice. Let me know if you guys have any questions about anything. On the Kenneth Walker, like I said, I'm throwing 30-40% of my fab to get this guy. He really, really could be a league winner. So if you guys enjoyed this, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Other than that, we'll see you next time.